Well, hey, to all you cool cats and kittens, this is obviously your host, Mr. Hi. And don't worry, I am not trying to interrupt your show. This is just a teaser, a trailer, to talk about my show, The Anytime Show. Have you seen it yet? I hope so. If not, what are you waiting for? Go on and find my show, The Anytime Show with Mr. Hi. See you all soon. And subscribed. Hey, are you listening to me? You better have subscribed to my channel, youtube.com/Hollywood Insider TV. Yep. This is your host, Britton Ambrose. Today's episode is titled Fact Check Series 32 Facts About Martin Scorsese, the legendary Hollywood director. This article has been written by Carrie Fishbane. Martin Scorsese is one of America's favorite directors. He is an icon in Hollywood and one of the most beloved directors of all time.
Our great Martin Scorsese.
His career spans almost 50 years, and in that time, he has directed some all-time American classics. He's known for making violent and graphic movies which depict American life. Some of his classics include Goodfellas, Mean Streets, and The Irishman. Fact 1. He grew up in Manhattan. Scorsese grew up in Little Italy. He said living there was like living in a little piece of Sicily. His time there was inspiration for his first theatrical release, Who's That Knocking at My Door?, which is set in Little Italy. He was always interested in film, but had a brief stint of wanting to be a Catholic priest. Fortunately, his obsession with film returned after he was rejected from the priesthood.
After he entered the seminary and then opted to channel his passions into film.
Fact 2. He studied film at NYU Tisch. Scorsese studied at Tisch for both college and graduate school. His influences during these formative years were wide-spanning, everything from Hollywood musicals to foreign dramas. Fact 3. Scorsese began his career editing concert films. Every director gets their start in film somewhere. Scorsese began his career editing concert films. He edited Elvis on Tour in 1972, documenting the life of Elvis Presley both on and off stage, and Medicine Ball Caravan in 1971, which followed several musicians performing at Woodstock. Most notably, he directed perhaps the greatest concert film of all time, The Last Waltz, a 1978 release documenting the band's final tour.
I said, wait a minute, Chester, you know, I'm a peaceful man.
Fact 4. He directed a documentary about the Vietnam War. While he is better known for his narrative work, Scorsese directed Street Scenes in 1970. The documentary centered around protests in New York City against the Vietnam War. It was shot by Scorsese and several other NYU students who took an interest in the protests. The documentary contains both black and white and color footage. Fact 5. You wouldn't think him a softie, but Martin Scorsese is known for his graphic and violent films. He is less known for being a total dog lover. During the early years of his film career, Scorsese was not caught on set without his beloved bulldog, Zoe. Zoe often sat on his lap in the director's chair. Not known to be the hardest working crew member, Zoe could often be found sleeping on set. Unfortunately, Zoe is no longer with us, but she's probably napping the day away on film sets in doggy heaven. Fact 6. But don't worry, Zoe wasn't the end of the director's love affair with dogs. In fact, Scorsese loves his current dogs enough to give them their own Instagram page. Jasmine, Flora, and Mac are some true social media influencers. They are all terriers and all drop-dead adorable. Fact 7. Mean Streets was reworked from Scorsese's theatrical debut. Scorsese's breakout film was Mean Streets, which was praised by fans and critics alike. The film was reworked from Scorsese's first theatrical debut, Who's That Knocking at My Door? Both films center around crime and gang violence in New York. Mean Streets features realistic detail and naturalistic performances, which were trademarks of Scorsese's early work. Fact 8. Music is king. Music plays a central role in many of Scorsese's movies. He often uses music to intensify action and advance the story of his movies.
His drug usage and paranoia is reflected with frequent changes in the song and a fast beat.
You can read more about some of Scorsese's best work with music in his films in this article. It should come as no surprise that Scorsese is rarely seen without his iPod. The article that we talked about can be found on HollywoodInsider.com if you go and look at the Martin Scorsese fact-checked article. Fact 9. He does non-violent drama too. A jack of all trades, after finishing on Mean Streets, Scorsese began working on Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. A far cry from the explosions and violence of Mean Streets, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore is about a widow who starts life anew and attempts to start a career as a singer. Fact 10. Taxi Driver was Brian Herrmann's final film. Brian Herrmann was the composer on Scorsese's 1976 film Taxi Driver. Herrmann was famed for composing the score of the first season of Twilight Zone, as well as the film The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Herrmann suffered a heart attack after coming home from his screening of Taxi Driver, and unfortunately, he didn't survive. Scorsese dedicated Taxi Driver to his memory. Fact 11. Scorsese is barred from entering Tibet. After the debut of the Scorsese-directed film Kundun, Scorsese joined a list of 50 people barred from entering Tibet. This was because the film is about the Dalai Lama dealing with Chinese oppression. The film's political nature led to the banishment. Fact 12. The Irishman's first shot is a recreation of the first shot in Goodfellas. Go back and watch The Irishman, and you might be surprised to find that the first shot is a sardonic recreation of the first shot in Goodfellas. Later, in The Irishman, you'll notice an appearance of the prison where Henry Hill waited out his sentence in Goodfellas. Fact 13. He loves to use improv in his movies.
All Marty does is he just turns his mother on. He says action, that's it. And then anything goes.
Improv is a technique that, when used correctly, can make an actor feel closer to his or her character and give scenes a more personal touch. Scorsese is known to let his actors go off script quite a bit. This can be found in the scene in The King of Comedy, in which Rupert shows up at Joey's house. In that scene, Jono has trouble opening the front door because Kim Chan really struggled with opening that door. Also, the famous "You talking to me" line in Taxi Driver was improvised.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Fact 14. King of Comedy was an emotionally grueling experience for Scorsese to make. In interviews, Scorsese has admitted that the making of The King of Comedy was an unsettling experience. This is because some scenes were downright awkward to film because of the uncomfortable nature of the script. Fact 15. When he works with Robert De Niro, the set is closed to all outsiders. It's likely because of the close relationship Scorsese has with De Niro. He probably hopes to get a more focused performance with minimal distractions. Fact 16. The Film Foundation. More than half of all films made before 1950 have been lost to deteriorating film stock. Scorsese founded the Film Foundation in 1990. The goal of the organization is to preserve old classic movies. The foundation has saved over 600 films since its founding.
We have to restore and preserve movies. It's our duty to our culture and our future.
Fact 17. Domenica Cameron Scorsese followed in her father's footsteps. Domenica Cameron Scorsese was born in 1976 to Scorsese and then-wife writer Julia Cameron. Domenica is a writer, director, and actress. She has worked on several films, including The Age of Innocence in 1993, A Little God in 2001, and Cape Fear in 1991. Her films have been slightly more down-to-earth than her dad's that are filled with pyrotechnics and graphic violence. Domenica has 23 acting credits, 4 directing and 2 writing as of the writing of this article. Fact 18. he is in a comfortable state of anxiety. In an interview with Movie Maker, Scorsese disclosed his past struggles with mental health. He is one of 40 million Americans that struggle with anxiety. At one point in his career, he would have panic attacks over the number 11. He'd dread going to the 11th floor of buildings and refuse to travel on the 11th day of the month. However, Scorsese has learned to manage his anxiety and lives in a comfortable state of anxiety. Fact 19. He has been nominated for 10 different Oscars but has won only one. He won Best Director for his 2006 film, The Departed.
When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
Fact 20. His mom was an actress. Catherine Scorsese lived till the ripe old age of 85. She had a long career acting in 16 different films, including several films that her son directed.
Ma, where are you? Oh, here I am. Home, I'm leaving. I've been here all the way.
She played Piscano's mother in Casino, Tommy's mother in Goodfellas, Rupert's mom in King of Comedy, and Iris's mom in Taxi Driver. She also acted in Moonstruck and was an extra in Muppets Take Manhattan. Fact 21. He makes cameos in his own movies. Scorsese was making appearances in his own movies long before Stan Lee made it cool. He's appeared in cameo roles in nearly all of his movies. He is often hidden in plain sight for eagle-eyed viewers to find. Some were even unintentional. The scene in which Travis Bickle confesses to cheating on his wife in Taxi Driver. The passenger was supposed to be played by another actor. The actor called in sick and Scorsese stepped in. Fact 22. The Irishman almost didn't get made. According to Thelma Schoonmaker, editor of The Irishman, studios were afraid to touch the film. Scorsese spent 7 years trying to get funding for the movie. The effects Scorsese planned on using, such as de-aging the actors, were prohibitively expensive. Yet we all know how the story ends. The Irishman was a huge success, raking in $122 million for the streaming service Netflix. Fact 23. He spent his 77th birthday at the Getty. 77 is a big birthday. Anyone who makes it to that age deserves a big celebration. Being the classy gentleman he is, Scorsese opted to spend his at the Getty Art Museum in LA. However, as he explained in this interview with Jimmy Kimmel, it's still on his bucket list to make it back to Pompeii. Fact 24. The Irishman is based off I Heard You Paint Houses by Charles Brandt.
I heard you paint houses. Yes, sir, I do.
Unfortunately, that paint comes in only one color, and that color happens to match the color of your innards. The book chronicles the life of Frank the Irishman Sheeran, who confessed having worked with the Buffalino crime family. Thickening the plot, Sheeran's confessions, which became the meat of the book, were later disputed in an article by Slate entitled The Lies of the Irishman. Fact 25. Scorsese doesn't care if the events of The Irishman are true. What he does care about is how the events of the story affect people. Scorsese recalls that when Robert De Niro pitched Scorsese the movie, he started getting choked up, and that's what convinced Scorsese to take on the project. He says the overall themes of the book, the consequences of life and what is made of a life, ring true no matter what.
And I looked around me, I said, from now on, whatever happens, happens.
Fact 26. He draws his own storyboards. Fact 27. The Irishman had been Scorsese and De Niro's first project together since Casino. Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro seem like a match made in heaven. Granted, a heaven designed by an arsonist who does hitman work on the side, but still heaven. Scorsese is America's go-to mafia movie director, and De Niro's demeanor makes you think he was a mob boss in another life. Scorsese and De Niro collaborated on a total of 8 movies together in the 20th century.
I want you to see that one because that's my wife. But that's not my apartment.
They made a short film together in 2015, but The Irishman is their first feature-length collaboration since the 90s. Fact 28. His all-time favorite TV show is Fawlty Towers. Who doesn't love Monty Python's John Cleese? Although it's certainly not expected to be a favorite of the master of movie violence, Martin Scorsese can't get enough of the classic British sitcom Fawlty Towers.
Well, may I ask what you were expecting to see out of a Torquay hotel bedroom window? Sydney Opera House, perhaps?
Fact 29. He could have directed Schindler's List. Scorsese is going to win some points with the PC crowd with this story. He was offered the chance to direct Schindler's List. He turned down the opportunity, citing that a film about the Holocaust should be directed by someone who is Jewish.
It's Hebrew from the Talmud. It says, whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
The director's share for the movie went to Steven Spielberg. Fact 30. He directed the music video for Michael Jackson's Bad. Fact 31. He directed an episode of Boardwalk Empire. Despite being known as the king of the big screen, Scorsese does have a few small screen credits. He directed the pilot episode of Boardwalk Empire on HBO. The episode has an 8.6 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
You're punishing
I'm telling you to slow down. Get the lay of the land. You've been home now, what, a month?
Fact 32. Joe Pesci had been working at an Italian restaurant when Scorsese offered him the role in Raging Bull. Joe Pesci had been acting since childhood, but he gave it up in the 70s. That was until Scorsese pitched him the idea for Raging Bull. Pesci was excited by the idea and signed on right away. He became one of Scorsese's go-to actors.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean?
We at Hollywood Insider would like to wish continued success, prosperity and happiness to one of our favorite directors, Martin Scorsese. Thank you for giving us the gift of cinema in your own style. Thank you.